Welcome back to Epic Tales from the Sewers, the TMNT podcast of choice, hopefully for you. I am your host, Justin, and with me today, standing in for Eric, is our guest turned guest host, one of the epic ladies from the Sewers, Lydie, the Channel 6 chick. Welcome back.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's such a huge privilege and always so much fun.
Yeah, it's a privilege having you. But it's pretty cool because we have another guest today. His credentials include the Amazing Spider-Man, and then we've got Magnus the Robot Fighter, which was a favorite of mine from back in the day. Weapon H, which always scared the crap out of me. Star Wars: Age of the Republic, Legends of the Shadow Clan, Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, another favorite, and of course, now get ready for this one. TMNT Ghostbusters Issues 1, Issue 3, the Karai Micro Series, as well as issues 41, 42, 43, the infamous issue 44, 48, 49, 50, 73, 75, 74 in between those two, and part of issue 100. Artist Cory Smith joins us today. Welcome, Cory.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me.
That is quite the pedigree, my friend. That's a lot.
Oh, yeah. I've been at this for a while.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure speaking with you. As you can tell, we're both fans of your work. We're talking a little bit beforehand, um, and you and I had the pleasure of meeting at Granite State before Granite State. We were both getting on the bus to go to Granite State when we got out of the airport. So we have met in person. So
Right. Yeah.
what an interesting bus ride that was, and all that. It was pretty funny. I think it was. I know Joey from Ninja Turtles was on, and Sarah Meyer was there. It was pretty fun.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like, did we talk about doing a podcast when we were waiting in line to check into the hotel? Maybe. I feel like
I think so. That was such a wait. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah. Now I'm remembering it. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it was interesting. But let me start off by asking, were you a Turtle fan growing up? Are you a Turtle fan as a kid? What's kind of your origin story with the Ninja Turtles here?
Yeah, I was a major fan growing up. I think my first Turtles. I think the first time I encountered the Turtles was in a comic in one of the Archie comic books.
Oh yeah,
that Archie series that was. What year would it? I guess it would have been maybe. No, it had to be the cartoon first because that was like 87, right? So.
Yep.
Yeah,
and then shortly after you get the mini series, which would be the Archies, 88, and then it ran through 93 ish. So
yeah. So I think I don't know why that the first Archie issue stands out to me so much. Maybe just because I ended up working in comics, and
I don't blame you at all. Depending on which one you're talking about, I mean, you've got Dave Garcia's art, or you've got Jim Lawson, Ken Mitroni. All of those. Yeah.
Yeah. Jim Lawson was one of my faves back then. AC Farley did. He was a huge influence on me.
I could see that, absolutely. And another reason I really resonate with your artwork is because I am such a huge fan of AC. So.
Oh, it's cool. Yeah, he's great, man. But yeah, we're getting off on a tangent here.
That's what we do. So
yeah.
So you're an Archie guy back in the day, and that's pretty cool. That's what got me into Turtles as well. So we have that in common. Were you a collector of anything like the toys or like the comics back then?
Oh yeah. I mean, once I found the comics, I tried to find all the I was way into the Archie books, and the Playmates figures for sure were huge for me when I was a kid.
Yeah, I think I'm never really far from one. Like I always have one close by. I've got Punk Rock Donnie, and you've got Casey Jones. Okay.
Yeah, he was hanging out there for good luck.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, who else do I have? I've got Invisible Mike. Yeah, from I don't know. There's always some kicking around here.
Yeah.
Do you hold on to any for art references?
No, I still have a Mondo Gecko around here that was one of my favorites. And I have a Fugitoid too.
Oh, cool.
Oh, I love the Fugitoid so much. Yes.
Yeah, I love so many of those. Those designs were so wild as a kid. They were so gnarly. I loved the weirdness and kind of grossness and the monsters and weird designs associated with Turtles. That was probably one of the main things I was like attracted to. That they just the whole, not just them, but the entire universe, the entire cast of characters just looked so much more interesting as opposed to like all the other stuff that was big at the time, like G.I. Joe and
Yep.
Transformers Thundercats was pretty cool too. But yeah.
You did a gorgeous Thundercats cover. Sorry. Again, that was on your blog. I think it was like 2013, but I didn't know he did that, and I loved Thundercats as a child.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, me too. Yeah, they're great designs in that show as well.
Now, what about origin story with comics? Like, do you have a history with reading comics as a kid? Like, what were you into back then?
Yeah, so that Turtles book was the first. It was issue, I want to say issue 8 or 9. It was, the cover was it was like the corner of a brick building, and Raphael was on one side, and there was like a chameleon detective. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
I mean,
absolutely. Yeah, it's a code name Chameleon.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it was a takeoff of the Raphael and Casey cover from the Raphael micro series. So yeah.
Which at the time I didn't realize, and then like later on when I got older and discovered that, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really neat. I always wanted them to make a figure of him too. They never did.
Yeah, he never really. They didn't do, like, he didn't pop up in anything else, did he? Like, maybe did they do some? Was there a similar character in like the 2012 cartoon? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, there's someone they're doing now in like the Tales of the TMNT, but it's like he's kind of unique because he was someone who was a secret agent that was selling, trying to sell government secrets and stuff like that. But and then he gets in between like Rocksteady and Bebop and a knucklehead and the Turtles. So it's like, oh, a rock and a hard place, and the Shredder mutates him. It's like, oh, okay, well, what's going on here? You just never saw him again, not in that series at least. So I'm wondering if we're going to see him again.
Yeah, maybe he'll end up like the cigarette smoking man in X-Files. Like I always think he was such an X-Files character before the time.
Yeah,
let's bring him back. I'll make that a personal mission.
Well, maybe if they end up doing another Black, White, and Green, you can do a story with Codename Chameleon on it and give him like a nice edge and an update.
Oh yeah,
feeling that idea.
Maybe he shows up in Mutant Town, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Get Bram Ravel on the phone. No, it's good. That'd be crazy. Let's see. I could tell that you have an appreciation for classic artwork based on some of the some of the art that you've done. Specifically, your cover to issue 57. Where did you get the idea to mimic the Mona Lisa? Where did that come from?
Oh, so that month, IDW was running a promotion where like all their titles that month had like classic art inspired covers, like Renaissance art type stuff. And I think the first few ideas I pitched, let me see if I can find them. The first few ideas I pitched were not picked up. You know what? I can't. I one of them was they were really kind of oddball. I know one of them was Krang as the Vitruvian Man.
Oh, jeez. With all the arms, yeah.
Yeah. I always I love that android body Krang. It's just such a so bizarre. And so I thought that I really like that idea, but they shot down all those ideas because I think they were a little too obscure, and asked me to try something else. And so I came up with the Mona Lisa one. It's a little more like on the nose of what they were looking for. And the question I always get about that is, why is it Raphael and not Leonardo? And because look at him, look at how miserable he is. Like that was the whole point of that was to really sort of do that to Raph.
The color scheme the red works so much better than a blue would.
Yeah, I thought that too. Like it pops better.
No. What now is that painted? Is that oils, or is that just like standard comic book colored? Like how'd you actually make that? Is it a painting?
No, it's just ink wash mostly. I think I just did a regular Bristol board. And it's the ink wash, just layered ink wash, and I think some of it is tightened. Like I think the wraps on his arms and the size that he's holding, I think so, and like the eyes and the face, some parts are tightened up with ink, but a lot of it is just A lot of it is just ink wash, and that's one of the few pieces of Turtles art that's probably the one piece that I won't ever sell. I don't hold on to a lot of my own stuff, but that one I put so much into it, and I was really happy with how it turned out, and I've still held on to it to this day.
I don't blame you. That's really cool. You know, that's the retirement policy, right? You hold on to that for a while and you know, let it appreciate.
So how
Yeah.
big is the original? I'm just curious. Was it small? Is it a really big piece?
Oh, it's so it's same size as like all the original comic art that I do is 11 by 17 basically. So it's, I don't know what the percentage is up from the the print size, but yeah, it's about 11 by 17.
I didn't see any at Granite, but did you have prints of this?
I think so.
Cool.
I think, yeah, I didn't have a great way to display prints, but yeah, I do. I will have prints of this available in the future. So if you didn't get one, we'll get you one.
So I mean, this kind of fits that bill, but you've got a list of iconic covers. Are there any that stand out for you? And it doesn't even have to be specifically TMNT, but I mean, we were talking earlier about a particular Karai cover. There any covers that you can think of that are like, wow, you know what? I did a really good job of Wolverine on that one or something.
Well, in the Turtles realm, I did a cover, a Bebop and Rocksteady cover for, I'm not sure what the name of the series was, whether it was, I think it was Bebop and Rocksteady Hit the Road.
Oh, is it the sequel to They Destroy Everything?
Right. Yeah.
So
but I think the On the Road one has them on like a tank, and like Bebop's, they just got like way overpowered. Bebop's got a rocket launcher on his shoulder, and or no, Rocksteady has the rocket launcher, and Bebop has a minigun. And I like that one a lot.
That's really cool. I'll have to look for that one.
Did you get notes for that one, or did just come out of your imagination and you had fun with this?
Yeah, I think it was just pretty much for covers. You don't usually get like if for variant covers too, like you don't usually get a lot of notes. They kind of will give you like a direction. Like I think the idea for this one was just, anything having to do with them. I don't know if maybe the tank was involved in the editor's pitch, maybe, I don't know, but it was just pretty open-ended, probably the pitch for that. And I'll do like a couple sketches and submit them. And I'll always have like one or two favorites, which usually don't get picked. But yeah.
Let's go back and talk about this one because we talked about it just before it started. I'm going to share the image here. So this is a cover that you did. Lydie, do you want to talk about this a bit?
Yeah, this is my absolute favorite image I've ever seen of Karai. And I was thinking about making a big leg piece out of this. And I was trying, I didn't want to rip off art, but it's just, she's perfect in this. She's deadly. She's stunning. It's amazing. And I read that this was the first cover you colored as well. And I was shocked because I think this is just perfection.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm still really happy with how that one turned out. You don't usually like look at old work and with what am I trying to say? You don't usually look back favorably on old work. But this issue, I still like, just when I was flipping through it earlier and preparing for this, and I was just like kind of surprised that like, hey, this actually turned out pretty good. Like,
it was really good. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I think so.
That design is like just perfect for her.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, she's a great character, and I loved her look in that IDW. It was just so simple, and she had like that scarf with the tendrils, the just waving in the wind. Like it creates a really great like visual element to play with.
And you kind of do something with all of your drawings. And I wanted to know if it was at all influenced by you being based in New York. Like Karai can wear the same clothing and different people can draw her, but she has like a deadly elegance when you do. And there's grit there. And I was wondering if living in New York influence that at all?
Maybe, yeah, probably. Yeah, she, I guess it probably did, yeah. Yeah, I don't know how to
Being
answer.
at, being
I was
at
gonna
the
say my
height of
only
the
complaint,
fashion world there.
yeah, I think Anna Wintour, like the Vogue editor, would even approve of this outfit. It's just amazing. Like I've tried to recreate it in cosplay, and I can't pull it off, but it's stunning. My only complaint, and I was telling Justin this, is women have no pockets, and I just got these amazing like boots similar to what she has, and they have pockets on them. So that was going to be. I think they wouldn't look as nice, but I have to say, it's amazing. But just give the woman pockets.
All right, I'll work that into it next time.
Thank you.
What would you keep in your pockets if you were a Kunoichi assassin, Lydie?
Well, definitely poison.
Okay.
Like that's not particular to a Kunoichi, but obviously poison. And I probably couldn't tell you the rest because it'd be top secret.
Okay. All right. That's fair. Keep your secrets then, as they
Lip
say.
gloss. No, I'm kidding.
I don't know. I mean, I imagine at the top of a roof you get chapped. So, I would
Yeah.
like to see the turtles doing that one time and be like, Mikey, what are you doing? I'm putting on lip gloss, bro. Why
Or
are you putting
hand
on lip
cream.
gloss? Yeah.
Yeah. You have some Advil,
Next time I talk to Jason Aaron, I'm going to tell him about that. I'll be like, hey, Donnie's a bit chafed here. So,
Well, they do all kinds of rough work outside, so I can't imagine it wouldn't come in handy.
Yeah, they got it dehydrated, right?
yeah, the turtle wax, right? That was the joke.
There you go.
So, speaking of a character that needs moisturizer, I saw that you had a cover for Spider-Man versus the Predator, which is pretty cool. You mentioned that you did this a while back. Do you have any stories about that cover?
Not really. I don't know. I that was maybe 2018 or 2019.
Oh, so it was a while back. Okay.
Yeah. I've done like a handful of just really random variant covers for Marvel, and that was one of them. But it was fun to draw the Predator for sure.
Oh.
That was the first time I'd ever drawn him.
Yeah, I'm a big Predator guy, big fan. I love Predator 2, and everyone's like, "You like 2?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, 2 is fun, Gary Busey's there, it's a good time.
Yeah, I got no problem with 2.
Do you often get confused for the other Corey Smith? I don't know if you know this. There's like 5 Ryan Browns, so it's like.
Oh yeah. So yeah, not so much these days, but when I was starting out, yeah, so the first convention I ever did on my own was C2E2 in 2012, I think, or
My
2013.
neck of the woods here, yeah.
Um, and they canceled. Like I got an email one day that said they were canceling my table because someone told someone like they mentioned a bunch of people that I didn't know or recognize at all. Like I got really freaked out. I called Mike Negan, the guy who was running it at the time. And yeah, they totally confused me with this other guy who since then has, maybe I shouldn't say, but yeah, I've heard a lot of things, and yeah, I've been confused for him a few times. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, we won't go into it. I mean, look, on this podcast, we've talked about like Dave Sim and all of that. So it's like, yeah, we're no stranger to some controversy. I didn't know anything about him. I was looking up Corey Smith artists, and I was like, oh, there's 2 of them. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I've actually never even met him, but I think he has a big Facebook presence, which I'm not on at all. That's like the one social media that I'm not on. Well, not the one, but yeah, I've never met him.
Well, that's good. And for C2E2, is that one that you're planning on coming back to?
At some point, yeah, I would love to. I love that city. I love Chicago. It's been forever since I've been there. So yeah, at some point, maybe not.
It's cold here right now. Let me tell you, it is
Oh,
colder here than it is in Alaska right now.
And where I am, sorry.
And where you are, yeah.
Where I am, we were a few weeks ago. We were the 7th coldest place on the planet.
Holy smokes!
Yeah, sorry. So
wow.
that's a very rural Alberta, very north.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I joke and I call it the wall.
Oh, jeez. So you took the black. Okay.
Yes, apparently.
Oh, I should have had my coffee cup from Game of Thrones. That'd have been perfect.
But yeah, it makes sense. I'm always in black, so that's maybe why.
That's I
It's my
am wearing
uniform.
I am wearing the T-shirt of a fellow Canadian, Mike Ruth. I've got the Kraken, so representing, above the wall.
Always represent Mike Ruth.
Yep, yep. I tell people he's my big brother. So him
Aw.
and Hugh Rookwood are my two big brothers. But Hugh and I, no relation, like no resemblance. So if you knew him, he's 7 foot tall black man with a bald head, and he could not be taller. So it's yeah, he's huge.
Wow. I'd
But
love to be 7 feet tall.
yeah, yeah. Well, you'd have lots of pockets on everything, I imagine.
Yes.
So I was going through the issues here. I feel like a ton of stuff happened, or was at least in the process of happening in your issues of at least the 40s. So 41 to 44. Um, and I mean that's a lot. Like you got a lot of exposition that was like coming. Like Tom Waltz plants all these seeds. We go through all of this stuff, and then it gets to you, and it's like, hey, boom, 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 boom. How does that hit you when you start doing it and you're like, wow, all of this stuff is coming into it right now? Were you
Yeah.
guys like afraid of getting canceled or something?
No, not that I know of, but yeah, I do remember thinking at the time, like, oh, this like I'm getting to do one of the, quote unquote finale arcs, or like one where like they tie up a lot of these threads that they've been building. Like, this is a lot of pressure. But I remember just thinking that was so awesome to be a part of. But yeah, I mean, this we're talking like over 10 years ago, so I don't remember.
Oh yeah, it's yeah,
It's
absolutely.
fresh, but yeah, it was really cool. It was a lot of work because like the cast was so huge. I mean, the cast of that book has always been huge,
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
There's a
but
bunch of people in there.
it's only gotten bigger. But yeah, I remember struggling to keep up with deadlines because it was a big cast of characters, and the like those pages were really packed with panels and action, and you know everybody had speaking parts in multiple panels, and so there's like a lot of like figuring out and like puzzle solving with that kind of stuff.
What was it like, or what did you think when you got the script from Tom Waltz for issue 44? Like, did you know that this was going to be like a key issue in TMNT history?
Yeah, I didn't know it was going to be as big as it was. I mean, I think it might have just been like a slow news day or something when that came out, like because it got blasted on like all of the big websites, and my panels were like everywhere and all the articles. I was
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah.
But no, I didn't realize it was going to be that big, or I would have held on to some of those pages.
That'd be a good thing to have, especially like the last bit of issue 44. Whoever got that really lucked out, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for the listeners, if you haven't gotten to it yet, we haven't gotten there yet in the reading. The reading, I think we're just in the mid 20s, like 25. That'll be out by now, hopefully. But issue 44 is where Donatello has a I'll say he has a bad time with Bebop and Rocksteady.
Donatello
And
and
yeah, yeah, and Metalhead. And Metalhead gets pretty
Mm.
badly destroyed too. So
There was no tank, but it's have Kleenex.
oh yeah, like it's
Lots of it. I wasn't prepared for that.
yeah, it's a tearjerker. So
Yeah.
for sure. So another thing I thought was pretty interesting is you have a very complementary style to Santaluco. And what I mean by this is it's not jarring transition going from Santaluco directly into your art style, whereas it would be if it was like Dave Wachter is like completely different. Like you're like, oh wow, what is this? For you, it's like, oh, this is kind of like a really cool thing. It blends, and there were points where I was like, oh, and I went back to look, and I'm like, oh, he did the beginning part of this. I didn't even realize, and I think it was like issue 50 where he did like a flashback or something. or the Ghostbusters one, maybe it's something, I don't know. But you have a really good style that is very complementary to like Dan Showing and Santaluco, and I really enjoy it.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I hear that from people all the time, that they really like that era of the book, because the two of us were, and it, didn't really last all that long, but the two of us were sort of trading off on issues and like,
So much happens.
at the ton there was like that string from 41. So did I so after I did the Karai issue, before I jumped into that Attack on Technodrome arc, I did a another single issue, number 37. It was like the meeting of Krang and Shredder on the boat.
Oh yeah.
Oh
I don't-
yeah.
And Burnout Island. Yep.
Can't remember why I brought that up now.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I remember I filled in and did like some flashback stuff that like some of the pages were even like, he would do 2 panels and I would do 3, and they would like, merge them together. And so there's a lot of cool stuff like that where like our two styles sort of fit well together in that sense, where it wasn't it wasn't jarring for the readers, just like you said.
Yeah, it's pretty cool because it's distinct enough to know that it's like, yeah, this is not the same artist. It's different, but it visually like, oh, this works, and I can tell it's something different, so it's a different part of the story. Kind of like the Lost Years, how they did that, and you had like 3 different artists, and in between you've got Kevin Eastman doing the book, and it's like, okay, this is transitioning to Ben Bishop now, so it's like, all right, that makes sense.
Right.
Well, I will say, and you kind of already led to this one, and Lydie already kind of buried the lead on this one. So the 2 characters that I think of when I think of your arc are Karai, of course, and Krang the android body. And I literally wrote that down before you said anything earlier. So those are the standouts for me that I'm like, oh yeah, like he definitely loves drawing these 2 characters. So what's the connection with Krang's android body?
I don't know. I think I just always thought he's just such a weird character. Like I love that they brought him into the IDW series, like with sort of an updated kind of Krang body. Like it was similar but different, and he was like a little further up in the chest than in the belly. So it was like, still kind of ridiculous, but like slightly less ridiculous.
Slightly.
How cool is that high collar, and he's got the beret on and all that when we first see him, and yeah, it's neat. And Krang is just absolutely vicious looking. Like he's got those sort of like dead black eyes, like a shark would have or something.
Yeah.
And the kind of like the frills on him. Like he's creepy looking. He's not like this Krang, that's from the cartoon and all. Like he looks like he's gonna bite you.
Yeah, he was like one of my favorite characters to draw in that series. So I think that's probably why they asked me back to do that Trial of Krang. Later on in issues 73 to 75.
Yeah.
He's just you can just like, his face is so animated. You can just like really twist him and morph him, and you can just get so much emoting out of that weird creepy little face.
And going back to the Archies. The brain, yep.
Like,
what were you
how
saying?
How often do you draw brains?
Yeah. Probably not, unless you're doing like a Walking Dead or something like that. But I was just thinking, Archies, you got to go back and draw Stump and Sling. How cool is that?
Oh yeah, Stump and Sling. Ace Duck showed up in that as well.
Yeah.
The Dimension X stuff in the Archie books is some of my favorite stuff ever. So it was really cool to touch on some of that a little bit.
The Nova Posse and all them. I think you did the first kind of backgrounds of those guys, right?
Who's that? The Nova Posse?
Yeah, was that you with the Nova Posse? Because I know they showed up before at the trial, and they were just kind of like in the background or something.
The Neutrinos?
Well, the Neutrinos were there too, but maybe that was a later issue then. Maybe that wasn't one that you had. But Nova Posse shows up in the background, and then they come back in Armageddon Game.
Oh, I don't know. Are they like who's Nova Posse?
So one looks like kind of like a Batwoman, and then there's like a guy who's kind of like the Thing, and then they're aliens, and they kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I don't remember them at all. I don't think they showed up in.
So it must not have been in yours then, because they
Right.
were in the background in one. Like somebody snuck them in. I thought that could have been you. So
Oh, okay. No.
I do like the Nova Posse. They're pretty cool. But I'll say this. And this is funny because we talked about this before. I'm a huge fan of the original Archie series, and one of my favorite characters was Mondo Gecko. I loved your Mondo Gecko. Loved him.
Oh, thanks, man.
That's why I'm hoping that if we get like another Those Loyal Subjects action figures, that they make the Mondo and he's got like that cool like gun on the bottom of his skateboard and all that, and
Oh,
the
yeah.
whipping tail, and what did it say, like mutated tendencies on his shirt?
Oh, yeah. I think it was just mutant tendencies. Like,
Mutant tendencies, you know.
I think that
It's
was.
a really cool update from when
Yeah.
I was a kid. So some of them just jive better with you, and that one's awesome.
Yeah. I love the Mutanimals. So I was glad to play around with those characters a little bit. And some of the new ones too, like that Herman, the Hermit Crab.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask, who makes you laugh more, Pigeon Pete or Herman?
Probably Pigeon Pete. Herman's mostly just a pain to draw.
Tom, when I asked him about it, Tom Waltz said that Herman is his favorite character besides Splinter. He's
Oh,
yeah, I'm like, that's so funny. This shell shock sort of military guy that lives in a garbage compactor or whatever. You know, he's always got like some sort of like military ordnance on him.
Yeah.
Talk about snap judgments. What does that say about you? do you have a favorite, Corey?
Of the Mutant?
Other than Mondo Gecko.
Slash. I always loved Slash. Nice. And I really like the IDW version. It was like this massive snapping turtle. I thought that was a really cool twist on him.
I'll never forget the first time I saw that. It was Andy Kuhn's artwork, and I'm like, this is whatever this is. It's my new favorite thing. Like, I love this thing, and it's this giant hulking snapping turtle, and you'd think it's like, oh, is that Toka? No, that's Slash, dude. You know, and later on he's fighting Triceratons.
Mm.
Oh man, it does not end well for our friend, though. I will say that it's
another tearjerker I wasn't expecting.
Yeah,
because he's actually a big sweetheart, like a big teddy bear under all of that.
Yeah,
and his relationship with Mikey always gets me kind of soft inside.
That's one of the first times we get to actually see the compassionate side of Michelangelo. And then when the series goes on, we see that, you know, yeah, he's a jokester and he's silly, but really he's the heart, you know, the compassion of the group and the one that kind of ties everybody back to it. And it starts with that. Yeah. Him offering Slash a candy bar and, you know, him caring about Slash and all of that kind of stuff. That's where it starts. We really start to get some good Michelangelo stuff.
I always think he has the most of his mother in him, like for other instances where he brings everybody food or brings people together. So I always think that's interesting.
That's cool. I like that.
And he's the one with the tie back to ancient Japan because he speaks Japanese, which comes up in the first issue of the new series where he's a action hero in Japan. So
yeah, I think it's interesting that his mother never visits him, and I think she doesn't have to because he's the most like her. It's a theory. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm deviating here, but I'm a big Mikey fan, so I see like compassion at different points, but that is a very marked point. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
And you guys can judge me for my Mikey love. It's okay.
Well, that's a good question for Corey then. So Corey, if I'm a Leonardo person and Lydie is a Michelangelo, who is your favorite turtle? Who do you connect with, or who do you just enjoy the most?
So I was always a Raph guy growing up. He was always like the smartass in that cartoon, and I was a smartass growing up. So I kind of identified with him, I guess. So I've kind of always liked Raph. I really, when I was working on to go back to that Attack on Technodrome arc 41 through 44, I really started to become a Donnie guy.
I can see, yeah,
because his arc in that is so great.
That's his arc, 100%.
He makes this like selfless sacrifice that he takes all these steps, knowing what he's doing and knowing that he's keeping it, so he's got this like huge burden on him, and and he throws himself into the line of fire so that they can take out the Technodrome.
That's the only time besides the last Ronin where, you know, a turtle has quote unquote died in regular continuity.
Yeah.
You know, it's the only time. Like, still, if you go back to it, it's like that's it. That's the spot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're not even at issue 50 yet, you know?
People were so pissed too.
Donnie fans are really passionate. You know, it's one of those things. You know, we know a Donnie fan, and she is just as passionate.
Yes.
So,
Yes, they're hardcore.
Well, it's like it was one of those things that, you know, there are a few things you can do in comics that, you know, are obviously going to get retconned, and killing one of the 4 Ninja Turtles is one of them. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I obviously never meant to stick, but it was hard to tell people that at the time.
So did people ever come up to you and tell you murdered Donnie?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I tell Ben Bishop that every time I see him.
I got people saying that at like every convention I did that year.
Wow.
And there were at New York Comic Con that year, there were 2 guys who showed up in cosplay as Bebop and Rocksteady, and they had a plushie Donatello, and they had like these toy sledgehammers and weapons, and
wow.
Yeah, they came to my table with that. Like,
will you sign this in red ink? You're like, okay.
Yeah, it was funny.
Oh my god. So are you ever tempted to like draw like happy Donatello, like in like happy things, like maybe he's painting or like on top of a mountain looking at a sunset, just to kind of make up for that?
In a bubble bath.
A bubble bath.
Well, no, I mean, it's not. Look, ask Tom those questions.
Yeah, okay.
I'm hired gun. I just draw these things, you know.
Hired gun. Okay.
That was my line to everybody too. Like, I just draw this, you know. This is not my fault, guys.
You did an awesome job at drawing it, though. I mean, your stuff is great. Like, just I enjoy it. I like the Karai series a lot. And right about when I met you, that was the episode that I was pushing, because half of what we do is interview folks like yourself. The other half is I do like an audiobook style reading, and that was the issue. It was the Karai micro series.
Oh,
so
cool.
I'm like, oh, this is like the coolest time to meet the guy who did the artwork on the book. So, you know, it's pretty fun, you know. And there was something about that issue that I just really liked, and that kind of continues when it goes into like the untold destiny of the Foot Clan and that kind of stuff, and that whole vibe that like Mateus and Eric Burnham are working on. Like, I really liked it.
Right.
Yeah.
That issue actually, that's the fastest I've ever completed an issue. Like, I've never come close to it before or since. I did that whole thing, pencils and inks, 22 pages and a cover in 3 weeks.
No kidding.
Whoa.
And yeah, these days, like, I'm super slow. Like, I'm so slow. And I only do pencils these days. So like, I can do like an issue in like 5 weeks for just pencils. So I don't know what got into me. I think I was just, well, actually I do know. I was just excited to do Turtles. I was really, because I had actually tried to get on the book when they first announced it.
Oh, like 2011.
Yeah. I think I don't even think I got a response. I sent some Turtles like pinup art that I did into the editorial team, but I didn't, at that point, I didn't have any credits to my name. I didn't even have like sample pages, you know, to show, like, so I didn't, so I wasn't, you know, obviously going to get the gig, but I wanted it bad. So that, like, you know, stayed in my head as I got into comics. I kept, you know, an eye on what was going on with the Turtles, and, you know, kept sending them stuff. But anyway, the Cry issue, it was kind of like a countdown to my wedding. The deadline was like right before I got married and went on honeymoon. So if I didn't finish it before the wedding, you know, I was screwed.
Oh, there would have been a wedding.
Yeah. So I think I just had like the fear of God in me, like, as I was working on that. Like,
smart man.
Yeah. So it's a special issue to me, honestly, like, for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, it's collected in was it volume 3 of the hardcover IDW collection. So, and I think it's in the Best of Karai from the
Yes.
IDW. So I think it's in that as well.
Yeah.
So, any listeners are looking for the issue that we've been talking about, you can find it there, or you can definitely find it online. I know I bought the single issues, so it's cool. Do you have Liddy? Do you have any other Karai based questions before
I
we
have
move?
lots.
Okay.
Maybe they can't all be answered, but that's okay. So with her, I noticed all of your art. I was trying to describe it to Justin, but you have all comic book art has movement. It's a given, but yours has a lot of movement. I was calling it like a swoosh. And with her, it's almost like a sharp swoosh.
Oh.
I can't describe it a lot better than that, but there's always like movement, or it looks like she can jump at you anytime, even if she isn't doing anything menacing. And I was wondering if you got any of your style, or if you're influenced by anything like dancing, martial arts, anything you do in real life that you carry this movement through so fantastically.
Not really, not like any of the things that you mentioned. But I do, like, sometimes when I'm drawing, I get into like really quick movements, especially when it comes to fight scenes. Just like quick, broad movements. So like I think maybe just sort of thinking that way when I'm drawing. I'm thinking very quickly, and so maybe that's has a lot to do with it. But I deliberately like try to add movement to my stuff because these are just static images, and it's so easy for them to just fall flat and be like boring and undynamic.
Yeah.
So yeah, I always like try to figure out a way to add movement, even when it's not really necessary, or when it is necessary in fight scenes. I try to like really accentuate things, like really like the thing with the Cry issue was that I like villains like overall, and so she's a villain, and she sees this other villain, Dark Leonardo, coming into her territory, and so like that's a very easily identifiable conflict and dynamic, and she's a villain, so she's gonna be very slick and sort of like subversive, and so I kind of almost snake like, which I guess makes sense with Karai, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
cartoon, she was mutated into a snake. So yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I mean, she's slick. You get this not greasy, but almost oily quality to her, almost like smoke. She could be gone 1 minute, and you do such a great job of putting that in an illustration. And I remember reading, and I forgot to read some of the words. I was following the movement. I'm like, well, I don't know what she just said. And I went back. So it's interesting that you do it on purpose, and it's fast movement.
Yeah. And I also just it's the whole theme of the Ninja Turtles is it's just so ninja centric, and Cry especially, and Leo, and so she's very accomplished, even though she's like a young girl in the book, or like a young woman. She's deadly, she's very she herself is a weapon, so I kind of want to like convey that in the art.
I always thought her best superpower was her ambition. Just one of those characters where when you read about her and you find out that she was just someone who kind of came into it. She was born into a wealthy crime boss family, and she was just going to be a kept woman and all that. And she says, no, I'm going to control this. I'm going to take this over, and I'm going to be the master of everything, and show everyone. And I'm going to do it because I'm going to fulfill that destiny and be, the head of the Foot Clan. Granted, there's nothing she can do to stop the Dragon Warrior, her grandfather, who is an immortal ninja, and rightfully so. She realizes that, but it's cool to see that pecking order, like you're talking about with the Dark Leonardo stuff, and how does that change her dynamic with Shredder, and how does it change it with Alopex, and then she goes off on her own to do stuff like Rocksteady and Bebop. Really cool dynamic stuff that happens with her, And even now, like after you've left the character, she goes on and invites Casey Jones to be the moral core of the Foot Clan. And it's kind of crazy. So, FYI, doesn't work out well, but
It never does when Casey does it. But yeah, I was going to say it's so much more character development than we saw before from her. Like even if we think about, sorry, I'll bring them up, but the Michael Bay movie where they kind of have a Karai, but she doesn't really do anything. This is such like a strong character. And my 13-year-old daughter, I was telling her that you had drawn my favorite picture of her. And she said, oh my God, that's amazing. I love her. So even kids who are 13, they know this version of Karai, and she's not a cardboard cutout. She's full of depth and, like you were mentioning, ambition. And I'll jump right into another question, if that's okay, because you mentioned her as a young woman. And when I was looking at, again, illustrations you made of her, we see very young Karai. And again, she has so much attitude. She doesn't need to say anything even. And you know that this kid means business. Did you have anybody in mind when you drew her? Like, was there anybody you knew who had this presence or attitude that you kind of took inspiration from?
I don't think so. Off the top of my head, no, I don't think so.
Or maybe it was just the feeling you captured that you better get this done before your wedding.
Well,
maybe that was enough, or maybe, yeah, I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. I think the thing of her parents like setting up a life for her and her rebelling against that, I think is kind of universal in a sense, so I think it was kind of easy to understand her mindset and, why she was so driven and why she had this like giant chip on her shoulder, and she wasn't going to let anything stop her. It was almost like, she just didn't want anybody limiting her in any way, so, yeah.
And some of us have felt that very deeply. So I was very impacted by this.
Oh, cool.
I like how underestimated she was, where they just after a while stopped caring about the book and all that, and she had the book and she just kept it in her room, and they're like, oh yeah, she doesn't go in this library or anything else like that, and she has the book and she's learning from it, and I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I love that. There's that page that's like it's like 2 columns of panels, and on the left side is her doing like her training, and I think she's playing like piano and doing ballet. And then on the other side, she's like training like a ninja and like learning how to use weapons, and this kind of duality where she was like, she's also like at a young age is realizing like how to kind of play a game, and how to like manipulate, like, so she's getting all the skills that she's, that are going to make her formidable later in life at a very young age. And she's smart enough to see what's going on around her and how to get what she wants out of it.
Yeah, she wore her perfect daughter face, and when she had time, she did what she wanted.
Right.
And I think a lot of women would find that resonates. They're not here to ask, but I feel a lot of us would feel like that was true.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good perspective too, and I mean that issue was that written by Tom, or was that a different writer in that one issue?
That was Eric Burnham.
That was Eric. Yeah. See, I always say that Eric is the godfather of Karai for that reason.
Oh yeah.
Well done, Eric.
Yeah. He's a secret weapon, I think, and I say that to him every time I see him. I'd be like, no one sees you coming, do they?
No, and I think even if you look at stuff that came later, like Kill Bill, you have Lucy Liu's character who's very similar, and I think a lot of women are like, hell yes, that's right. And we have our own stories about the stuff we snuck to our rooms, and maybe we weren't learning martial arts, but
That's a really good perspective too. That's pretty cool. I have a question about the Technodrome, because we had talked about the attack on the Technodrome arc. I feel like you got to work with the Technodrome the most. Did you have a Technodrome growing up?
Yeah, I did.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I might still have it like in my attic. I know I have like I have a chest of all my old Turtles toys. It might be in there. I should go check.
Can you do a live unboxing of that so we can
Look
roll?
at it.
Well, I saw it like they re-released it recently.
We did. It's smaller. Yeah.
I saw that. I thought about picking one up, but yeah, when I saw it was smaller, I was like, I don't know.
Check your attic first.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
yeah. The Technodrome was one of my favorite things in Turtles lore too, and so I actually got to design the eye that went on top of it in the IDW run, because up to that point they hadn't, like, it was being built, so
Yeah, they haven't figured it out.
yeah, so like by the time I got around to my issues, they had built the eye. So I remember designing that. I was pretty psyched for that too.
Yeah, because I think Andy started it, and then
Right.
when we get into Mateus, like he may have had like teases of it, but you didn't really see the full thing. You just see like, oh, they're working on this. So
yeah, I remember it's weird. Like, I remember looking at you're always looking at like reference of from previous issues, and so I'm looking up reference for the Technodrome, and there's like the city around it. And I was like, why is there a city around it? What is this like? And I think I asked the editor. I think they were just like, I don't know, just go with it. And I was like, okay, all right. And I remember drawing a city into my pages, but I don't remember ever getting an explanation like, why was there a city on that island? I think maybe it was just Andy just like filling space on the page, which we all do sometimes, just noodling.
well, it's funny because like that's how we got like Dark Phoenix destroying a planet, was because like John Byrne just like, oh yeah, let me just do this, and it's like, no, wait a minute, now Jean Grey's got to pay for that, and she can't come back. Like, oh, okay, yeah. So,
That's what happens when you give artistic license, right?
mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just make these little decisions on the fly, and it's like the butterfly effect.
And that's how a whole race of broccoli people gets wiped out by the Phoenix. So,
Poor broccoli people.
you did a Phoenix book, didn't you? Do a cover for the Phoenix Echo?
Oh yeah, I did covers for that. It was like a Phoenix book featuring Echo, Maya Lopez.
Yeah, I love that character, and it is cool. I got to meet David Mack and just talk to him about a book that he did called, it was like Spirit Walk or something, where it was Maya Lopez and she's trying to get in touch with her spirit animal. It's Wolverine. And I'm just like, how the hell did you cut? He's just like, I don't know, man. It's like
I'd like that as a spirit animal, I think.
Oh yeah. It's pretty cool. But Maya Lopez is such a cool character. And another similar to Karai character with like a different enough sort of vibe to her, but very, very chic as a character. I like her, and she's formidable, man. Whew. That would be a crazy match versus Karai. She'd probably take Karai actually, but
yeah. When we do some Marvel versus TMNT crossovers, I mean, they've done
what are you up for, man? I heard you're
wild.
a big Silver Surfer fan. You gonna mix up with Cuddly the Cowlick?
Oh my god, how amazing would that be?
That would be the best thing ever, actually.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to some people.
Maybe they're doing all these books now. Like, what if what if Gambit became a Herald of Galactus? Like, what do you think? What if Donatello became a Herald of Galactus? Who would your choice be?
Yeah, Donatello / Krang. Krang would make an amazing herald.
Oh my god, Krang he's like an evil Terrax sort of character. Wow. Yeah, that's gross. I don't like that. That's scary.
Those would make some wild imagery. Like, those would be some wild panels.
And is he silver inside the android, or is the whole android silver? Yeah.
No, I think we would just go to the logical conclusion with Krang and just have him grow arms and legs out of his head,
Oh, okay. All right.
That would be really cool. That would be a lot of fun to draw, I imagine.
Be horrifying.
She'd be like a potato that started sprouting. That'd be really awesome.
I like this venue that you're going with Krang, but I'm going to go DC. Now, have you done much work with DC? I didn't find really much on there. Definitely Valiant stuff.
I've done. I did like a Teen Titans issue years ago, but I've been exclusive for a while. So I've just been. It's all Marvel all the time for quite a long time, actually.
So I have to ask. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, you give him a yellow ring, right? And we know our buddy Randy MacArthur is a big fan of Sinestro. You give a Krang a yellow ring, and then he's got his construct, and he's going through space. That's a whole different thing. That's pretty sick. Yeah.
Uh,
I was going to ask, do you have a favorite Teen Titan? And I was just thinking, they're all teenagers. What would happen if we mixed Teen Titans with Ninja Turtles?
Oh, that's an
Who
interesting.
do you think would be friends?
be a pretty good crossover. I think Leo and Nightwing would really get along.
Yeah, I think you're right there.
I think Mikey and Beast Boy is pretty obvious, right?
That's what I was thinking of. That would be a good party.
Away. Yeah, I could see that. Donatello would definitely get along with Cyborg. Yeah, this is starting to flesh.
Oh yeah,
out.
yeah. Look at Cyborg like a science project.
Wow, Raph and Raven are dating. What happened?
Don't tell Robin.
Yeah. That's a really good mix. I wouldn't have come up with that myself because I'm not like the biggest Titans fan, and I'm such a DC guy too, like sign me up, anything Booster Gold. But yeah, Titans would be a really cool crossover. The obvious one everyone goes to is Daredevil,
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. But that would be a really fun comic, I think.
Yeah, so I'm with you. And what would be you think the Foot Clan works with Baron Blood, or do they bring Deathstroke the Terminator into it?
Ooh. Okay, somebody has to write this now.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I need to know the answer. What happens? I don't know.
I mean, I still think it's pretty cool that he's got that awesome Ghostbusters cover with Mikey showing the proton pack on the back.
Oh, that was wicked.
And the list of like iconic covers, I'm like, oh my god, you've got like this list of hits. It's just something else. Yeah.
It's a fun way to make a living for sure, man. Yeah, it's fun to get up and draw this weird, wild stuff every day.
So did you feel like you made it when you got that Karai series, when you were saying, you tried to get into TMNT and you didn't have anything really at first, and then you got to do this magnificent piece?
Yeah.
Was that like a moment in your career where you went, I think I did it?
Yeah, actually it was, honestly, like that was like, that was a hallmark moment for sure. And I probably, I would have stayed drawing turtles forever, honestly, but life got in the way and things happen. But I would love to like get back to it at some point because there's still stuff I want to do, and it's cool that the Turtles fans they've like followed me to everything I've done. Like every time I'm at a convention or a store appearance or whatever, there's always Turtles fans. So it's a really cool thing to be a part of because I don't think like a lot of other fandoms in comics especially like have that kind of thing. I've been working at Marvel forever, and I don't think that there's like, I think if I stopped working on Marvel, I don't think that the same thing would happen with like Spider-Man fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's pretty neat.
So can you say it a little louder just for us again? So Turtles fans are special and awesome.
Exactly.
What was your experience like at Granite this past year?
It was great. It was great, man. I really liked it. I think I'm going to be returning next year or this year actually. So yeah, I think I want to do some new Turtles art though, because it's been like so long since I've done anything, specifically Turtles, like as far as prints or any stuff for people like to pick up at conventions. So I want to do some new Turtles stuff for that if I end up doing it this year.
Maybe a Slash.
Yeah. You talked about some pinup art. Did you ever do any pinup turtles that you want to share?
What do you mean? Like I've done a few prints. Like I have Turtles prints, but they're mostly my covers. I have a lot of Turtles art that isn't like tied to the IDW book. So that's what I'm talking about. That's kind of stuff I want to do more of this year. I have like some Turtles images in mind just to like get out of my system. I have some Bebop and Rocksteady ideas, and so that's kind of
maybe a Krang.
It's always Krang. I mean, yes,
silver Krang.
Silver.
I like that idea.
Is there anything that you're working on right now that you can share with us that you have going on?
Well, I'm doing Fantastic Four right now. I think my arc starts next month in February.
Is that a Dan Slott writing that? Who's writing that one?
No, it's Ryan North is writing, and it ties into the One World Under Doom big going on. So it's like,
okay.
Yeah, so it's like Doctor Doom has taken over the mantle of Sorcerer Supreme, and I think he's kind of like head honcho in the Marvel universe now. And so, I think it's kind of reminiscent of the Dark Reign era from, I guess, 10 years ago or whatever.
That's a big deal book, Corey. Like that is a big deal book.
It's pretty cool. So I'm on my 4th issue now, and I'm really starting to like get into it. Like it took 3 full issues of me sort of like stumbling around in the dark and feeling the pressure of, this is Marvel's first family, and like, Reed has to look a certain way and Sue has to look this way, and like, don't do that. Like there's a lot of pressure, but now I'm pretty comfortable with it. So I'm really digging it. I'm excited for people to see.
I always thought that Sue Richards is the and it's kind of like understated, and it's like, is it? But you don't have to know. But I kind of like read into it. I always thought she's like the most beautiful woman in the entire Marvel universe. But it's one of those things where it's like, that's why Namor is so enamored with her. Well, not to mention the fact that she's like incredibly brilliant and sarcastic and funny.
Sue is like this classic beauty that's like, Sue is beautiful with no makeup on. Like that's the kind of like archetype that Sue is. You know what I mean? There's Sue and there's Emma Frost, but Emma's like really made up and like looks, made up. Like, but Sue, with her hair up in a bun and, sweatshirt on, like is still, like you said, probably the most beautiful woman in the Marvel universe.
If you had given me 10 choices, I would have not picked Emma Frost at all.
What would have been your second choice there?
Oh, Rogue, without a doubt. Without a doubt, Rogue and then Storm. But oh my God, it's so funny you said Emma Frost like that, because like you talk about someone with that like history of like ugliness and stuff like that. It's like she may have physical beauty, but it's like, I don't know, she's not coming back from burning up Firestar's horse Buttercup in 1985 from me. We hold grudges, so
it's a hard no for you.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's so cool. Wow. So Fantastic Four, man. That's awesome. So you get to draw Doctor Doom. You get to draw like all these great characters. Is there anything that that you're doing in there that's like you're like, I can't believe they let me do that? Like, did you slip in any Easter eggs or anything?
Not in Fantastic Four so much. It's pretty grounded, to be totally honest. Like the story, it's great. Ryan North is great. If you guys are not reading this book, you should check it out at some point, because it's really good. And Ryan is a great, like he's specifically great at comics. Like his comics have a rhythm to him. Like he's really, really good. So I don't know if there's anything that kind of blew me away in Fantastic Four. Well, there's one thing that's kind of spoilery I probably shouldn't say, but I've got to do a lot of really cool things in the last couple of years at Marvel. Like I did Wolverine before this, and it was billed as the most violent Wolverine story ever told. It was called the Sabretooth War.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I have that issue. So poor Dakin. Yeah.
And I haven't seen that, but I'm assuming all these swooshy movements with Wolverine's claws would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was like I felt like I fit right into that book.
You got Donatello again.
Yeah, you did, I guess.
Yeah, what was it, 75 or 35? I forget which one it is. My buddy's like, oh, you got to pick this up, and I got it. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So, but
we got
awesome.
Pretty violent things in that, and I was on Ghost Rider for quite a while before that, and
that'd be cool.
That was also Ben Percy was the writer on both Ghost Rider and Wolverine, and that guy is insanely dark in the best way. So he really came up with some gnarly stuff to do in those books. I was really shocked at some of the stuff that we got away with in books that didn't have like a parental advisory label.
Oh yeah. Are you shocked when you hear how deep his voice is?
Yeah, you know what, dude? So I met him at a convention for the first time earlier this year, and like I had heard things, and seen things online, people commenting on his voice, so I knew what to expect, but he comes up to my table at a convention in Oklahoma City, and the first thing he says, he just introduced himself, and I immediately was like, wow, your voice. And I saw, like, he just rolled his eyes into the back of his head, because he gets that all the time, and I was annoyed at myself, like, you knew what to expect and you still did it to the guy, like. But yeah, it almost sounds like he's doing a bit, like it sounds like it sounds like he's fucking with you, kind of, excuse me, like messing with you.
You're fine.
I don't think there's any parental warnings on this, so.
Okay, cool. I've been trying to keep it clean, but okay, cool.
That's awesome. So I mean, it sounds like you want to get back to Turtles. I mean, you've got a great thing going on. Like with all this Marvel stuff, it's fantastic. I mean, I would love to see you work on something DC related, but that's just my preference, because I'm a big Daredevil and X-Men guy, but I mean, I couldn't tell you a single Avengers storyline to save my life, you know. But like, I just be like, I don't know, Atlantis attacks, whatever, it's like whatever. I don't know. But what's good? Are you reading anything right now, or is it all just work?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's all just work, really. Like, I what is something that I read? I recently read the relaunched Ultimate Marvel books, like
Yeah.
The first few issues of that Avengers. I thought was really pretty amazing, and the Spider-Man too. I mean, Hickman is like untouchable.
That's all I hear anybody talking about right now, is they're like, "Oh, did you check out this Peach Momoko book? Did you check out this Hickman Spider-Man?" Like, and I'm like trying to find this timeless with Luke Cage, and I'm like, and everyone's like, "No, no, no, you need to get in on this." Like, oh wow, this Ultimate stuff is really good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't blame you.
I have to go there. I'm part of a comic book club, and I don't have a lot to say lately because I haven't been following. And my kids are into a bunch of manga, so we've been spending time on that. But
Oh, that's fun. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, the inevitable question that we have to ask, and since Eric isn't here, I'm going to ask the question. Cory, pineapple on pizza, yes or no? What do you say?
No for me, but no shade if you like it, honestly. Whatever.
Okay.
Bro, do whatever. I mean, we all grew up with Ninja Turtles, and they put, like, bottle caps and
Stink bugs, flies.
all kinds of weird. So, like, yeah, whatever. My wife loves it, so I can't hate on it too much.
I think if you grill it separately and then put it on it, it's a different thing. Just, you don't open a can and put like wet pineapple on it. So
Yeah,
I'm okay with it. No,
I don't think there's any good way to do it. And I've put jelly beans and anchovies, and I still won't touch pineapple.
that is fair. Pizza is a subjective thing, so it's a medium all to itself. So, but that's fantastic. So we're gonna put 2 more points there for Eric, my normal co-host, because you said Raphael earlier as your favorite, and then no pineapple on pizza. So we'll have to tally up these points at the end of the season and see where that ends up. But I'm a pineapple guy. What can you say? So, but that's awesome. I have C Smith Arts on Instagram. Is that the best way for people to find and follow you?
yeah, that's good. That's where I don't do a ton of social media. I'm trying to get better at it, but yeah, that's, if I post anywhere, it's mostly Instagram. So yeah.
And Lydie, you had mentioned that he had a blog that you can
Oh,
check through, if
yeah.
that's still there.
Don't bother with that. That is
Okay.
so right now. So there's a link to it in my Instagram, but I have a Big Cartel online store, so that's like functioning as my website. But I am working on another like fully functional website
Nice.
that I'll be ready, hopefully in the first half of this year.
So we can get some prints from you.
Oh yeah,
We have to go for those turtles prints.
yeah. Definitely.
Hopefully he'll have that Karai print, right? Wouldn't that be cool?
So. And would you be horribly upset if I modified it for a tattoo one day?
Oh, absolutely not. That'd be awesome, and you got to keep me updated on it if you do.
Oh, I definitely will, because that would be awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm totally cool with that. That'd be really cool.
That's fantastic. So for all of our listeners of the podcast here, we're gonna end here, and then we'll get to our pizza recipe of the day. I want to thank our two guests, obviously Lydie, Channel6chick, for helping us out today while Eric was out, and Artist Cory Smith. This has been a great conversation. I really appreciate having you on.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. This has been really fun.
And make sure that you follow. We've got at Channel6chick. Remember, the 6 is a numeral for Lydie. And Cory Smith is at C Smith Arts. And we'll be right back with your pizza recipe of the day.